I thought I'd make a response video instead of leaving a long comment because no one would read it anyway and everybody would say, "Why are you writing a novel?" So I just decided to go and make a video response to this. But it's coming from a video. I just woke up this morning and saw a video and I made some notes real quick just so I would know what to say, some topics to touch on. But I saw a video by a YouTube user named Jeffrey Petro, and this is the first video I've ever seen of his. It just kind of showed up in my recommended feed. And the video was called "Is the Classic Analog Market Tanking?" I don't know anything about this guy or anything like that, and he seems like I've watched a few of his videos since I watched that one, and he seems like he's a genuine guy, and he's genuinely doing what he does. So I don't have a problem with him. I don't know who he is or anything like that, but I do have a problem with some of the things that are being said more in the comments than what he said himself. Even though some of the things he said himself I think aren't exactly accurate either. But here goes. First of all, I just want to let you know that I'm not doing this video to ride on the coattails of Jeffrey or anything like that. I actually have more subscribers than he does, but that's not the point or anything like that. I'm not bragging because mine's only like 3,000 too, so I'm not worried about that. But my channel is not monetized. I don't make a single penny from any video on my channel at all. I'm not sponsored in any way by anyone. I get nothing out of this financially at all. So it's really just kind of to set things straight, because a lot of people in the comments, I noticed that they're talking about how, they're calling classic synth users synth snobs and things like that. So I just think that that's kind of strange because, anyway, I'll get to that. The first thing that Jeffrey mentioned was the Juno 106, saying that it was overpriced and that it was a beginner starter synth and all that. Well, that might be true technically, but at the time when it came out, that wasn't. I mean, for the class that it's in, it may have been considered a starter synth for what he's talking about. But I can guarantee you that it was not a starter synth in the sense that it was used by beginners. This synth was used on major hits by hundreds of artists, dozens of artists for hundreds of songs, and even up into the 90s. And even today, some people still use it. And I don't even own a Juno 6. I'm not defending the synthesizer because I don't even have one. I've used one before, but I don't have one. So it's not about that. I'm not trying to defend my synthesizer that I have or anything. I think that what he's talking about with the prices on those, I agree with him that a lot of them are overpriced. People charging $3,000 to $5,000 for them. I believe that's nonsense. But at the same time, it's a free market. If people aren't going to buy it, then they won't be pricing it like that anymore, or they just won't sell it. So they can bring their prices down or just hold on to it. And I think the market would dictate how things are going to happen. If you can't afford it, then move on and get something else. I mean, you can't tell them, hey, bring it down so I can afford it. That's their call. They're the ones selling it. Let them determine if they want to hold on to it for the next 20 years or if they want to go ahead and sell it like they got it listed. So let them, deal with that themselves. And then a lot of people have mentioned the Behringer Dave Smith reissues or remakes. And, I'm not sure that those are exactly the type of synthesizers or devices that these users that like analog classic synths are going for. For instance, myself. Behringer is cool that they redid the Pro 1, which I actually have one of the new reissue Pro 1s. And I also have the original Sequential Circuits Pro 1 from 1982-83. So I have both, and I can tell you they're not the same. You might be able to get them to sound similar, but the workflow is different. Their creativity is different. The vibe and the feel. I guarantee you that when I have a Behringer Pro 1 in front of me on my MIDI keyboard controller, and then I have an actual Sequential Circuits Pro 1 side by side, my mind goes into a completely different place when I'm playing the sequential circuits. It makes me feel like I'm in the 80s. It gives me a different vibe. My writing completely changes. It's a whole different song than it is with the Behringer. So those are not the same. And then I also have, I'm going to give you my gear list here. I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I just want to let you guys know where I'm coming from so you can know that I'm not just one or the other. I got a little bit of everything from every era. So my gear list right now, not including things that I've recently sold, but what I have right this minute from the 2000s. From modern, I have the little IK Multimedia Uno synth, which is like $100, $150. I have that. I have the Behringer Pro 1. I have and we're using both with the MIDI keyboard. And then I have a 2000s Roland Lucina AX09. I have in the 1990s keyboards, I have an EMU Proteus MPS, a Yamaha CS1X, and a Roland JV90. From the 80s, I have an Emulator 1, the original one. I have an Emulator 2 Plus. I have a Cord, those both work on floppy disks and they're both analog. And I have a Cord Poly 61. I have a Roland D50, which is digital. I have a Yamaha DX7, a Yamaha DX7 2FD with eCard. And I have a DX27 and a DX21. Drum machines, I have an NU Drumulator. I have, that's from the 80s. I have a Boss DR550, which is also from the 80s, 89. And I have a Boss DR670. And I have recently sold my NU Emax 2 and my Sequential Circuits Pro 1. So that's my gear list that I have right now. So as you can see, I have a lot of things from all eras. So I'm not a snob either way. I don't just do modern synths. I don't just do classic synths. I do a little bit of everything. And so I'm used to using both. And not only do I use them, but unlike a lot of people online, a lot of these synth techie geek guys who know how to program every intricate part of a synthesizer and who knows how to build them inside out with capacitors and chips or whatever, I actually use my synths to record real albums, real song albums with vocals, music videos, the whole thing. I've been doing this since the mid-90s with all of these synthesizers. And so I'm not just playing around with them in my little house and going online and talking tech stuff. I'm actually using them in a real studio. I've used music studios from the analog 2-inch tape on huge mixing boards that take up a whole room. And I've recorded with, which is the way I record right now, I record with a 1999 version of Cubase and a 2001 iMac with 500 megabytes of RAM. 500 megabytes of RAM. And that's a half a gigabyte of RAM I'm recording music with. The computer does not have technology for me to do the plugins that people use these days. I don't have the ability to use soft synths. I don't use auto-tune, Melodyne, all that stuff. That's not there. I don't use any of that. I record basically the way you would have recorded 25 years ago. As well, for the past 14 years, I've been working in studios with people who have the newest version of Pro Tools with all the newest VSTs, soft synths, Melodynes, whatever you got. I've been with all of them. So I've been here and there. So this is where my perspective is coming from. So old synths break down. They do. You got to replace things. But think of it this way. The Barrett-Jackson car show auction that they do every year, all those cars on there are cars that are older or they're classics or things that aren't readily available, and they're all overpriced. And if you're going to get one of those, then you're going to need to be prepared to either fix it up, replace an engine, put new parts in it, restore things. Most of the time you don't have to because that's the reason why they're at the auction, because they're already restored. But if you want to get your car in there, then you get one that's probably trashed out or that needs help, and then you fix it or whatever. And if you're going to get one that's already turnkey, ready to go and already fixed up, then you're going to pay the price for that. If you can't afford it, then just don't get it. Or if people don't want to buy them, then maybe their prices will come down and then the market will set itself right. That's the same thing with these vintage synthesizers. The difference is, though, is with synthesizers, you can actually use them to produce a sound that's there forever and ever, which is really awesome. And if it gives you creativity to do that, or gives you a vibe that makes you do that, or even a sound that you can get out of it, the analog sound, people can't copy, cassette tape sound. Let's actually run it through a cassette tape. They can do all the plugins they want to. I've heard them all, but you cannot exactly copy tape because there's different types of tape that you could use, different machines that give it that sound. People try to make these videos all the time, these synthwave videos, and they try to do the VHS look on their video. You can obviously tell they're plugins and effects and whatever else. It's actually not real tape done with real cameras from the time. Anyway, these are just some of my thoughts on it. If someone wants to do a classic synth, let them do it. If someone wants to charge whatever they want to, let them charge, because the market will happen what's going to happen. As far as, is it tanking? It could temporarily, but the housing market goes up and down. The car market goes up and down. I mean, everything goes up and down. Gold goes up and down. Synths are the same way. For me, I do both. There are a lot of classic synths I want, but I think they're overpriced. For instance, 8 years ago, the Roland Jupiter 8 was going online for $8,000, and it was 10 years younger. And now they're like $30,000, $35,000. That's just, and for barely working ones, that's just dumb. But no one's going to buy them. If they do buy them, then good. If you got the money, go for it, But I know they're going to try to pass it off later to make their money back. But the market will set itself right. If it doesn't, then you're just going to have to go without it. Like I had to go without it, But for people mentioning, that the analog synth market is useless and there's no point in it because it's just old, broken down stuff. Well, that goes for anything. What about somebody who buys an old Victorian home and they want to fix it up and make it this classic house? That's up to them if they want to pay the price and pay the money and work to get it fixed. And then, but they get the benefit of living in it. And then later on, if someone else comes along with a house like that, they got one that's already fixed up and ready to go. They're going to pay the price for that too. But that's just how it works in everything in life. If you want to do the software the soft sense, or if you want to do the Behringer remakes, whatever, that's your business, no problem. But the people who are complaining about this the most are the people I've never heard make an album. And if they do make an album, then it's all digital, and they're using they go into a program and they record like they're playing Tetris. They just take samples and move them on a grid, record on a grid. I don't even record on a grid. I don't even have that. I mean, Cubase has that, but I don't even use it. I record cable in, I play my instrument, bam. I might edit it a little bit in case the timing might be off, like, because there might be a delay or something like that, or I might have messed up, played a whole 3 minutes, and then the 3-minute and 10-second mark, I might have messed up. I might move something around so it matches up or whatever. So I have to play the whole take again, because that's how I used to record. Is old school. I'll play takes all the way through the song like they used to. But that's just editing, though. That's not using VSTs or any of that. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I'm not making this video because I'm trying to keep the market up. I'm not a gear flipper. I don't buy gear just to flip it and sell it. So I'm not trying to protect myself or investments or whatever. When I buy gear, I buy it because I want to keep it. If I happen to sell something, it's because I'm getting too much, or I got something that I think is really cool that might be similar. And if I got 2 or 3 of the same thing, I'll sell something. Sometimes I get copies of a gear that I like if I get great deals on them. But I don't normally sell things. In fact, in the last 2.5 years, I've sold 2 items. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, I've bought like 20 something. So as far as major gear goes. So I'm not trying to sell my stuff. I do sell things here and there, but that's not the reason for this video. I'm not trying to protect my equipment and its value. I'm just telling you how it is, because I'm a buyer too. So, if I was trying to buy stuff cheap and I was a flipper, then I'd be agreeing with this video, but I don't really agree with everything that's being said in it. And also as well, like I said, I want to reiterate that I have no problems with Jeffrey Petro, the guy who did the video. I just think that he may be right technically on some things as far as like numbers go, but there's that factor that, that you got to think about, that it's not about dollars. It's not about worth. It's about what someone wants it for. Someone wants it for nostalgia. If they want it for a collector's item, if they want to use it because they want to get the feel of playing a real one from the old days, because maybe they had one when they were younger, or maybe some young person wants to see what the old people, what it was like me. First time I put my hands on an old, Mellotron, it was unbelievable. I felt like I was from the old days. I mean, I could have done that with some sort of sample or something, but it would not have been the same. Anyway, that's it. I'm not trying to do anything else, but I just wanted to mention these things.